Hey guys, what's up?
What's up? Kevin needs no introduction.
Great work, guys. As
Thank you.
always, you know I always ride with the BLT, the Broken Lizard Troop. I will.
Nice.
I will never have to show the kids Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame again. It will only be Quasi from here on out.
But Kev, are you going to show your kids this movie? Can you? I mean, I don't know if you can you? Too dirty?
They're going to see it?
I mean, I think it's about time they learn about medieval torture, you know?
Yeah. The real history of Quasimodo.
That's right. Maybe we'll skip past the scrotum scene.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, there's always something to learn.
Part of the time.
yeah,
too.
kids need to learn how stretchy a scrotum can be. It's an important part of growing up.
America needs to know how
Forgot
stretchy a
about
scrotum
that.
can be.
By the way, the highlight of making that movie was having Kevin direct us with his scrotum hanging all the way between his ankles.
There are a couple of stills out there. We have to find them where I am directing, like with the iPad, sitting there, and my balls are hanging down about 3 feet.
I have a great photo of Kevin. It's after he was taken off the stump, he's laying down. And so he's laying down, looking at the tablet, and from behind, his scrotum is stretched out and dangling off the stage that we're on.
Honestly, I don't know if I'm old enough for this scrotum scene yet. It scarred me. That was not a. How did you guys? What was that scrotum made of? How did you guys?
No, we
right into
improvised
it?
that.
That's mine.
We improvised that, just stretched it.
All
on the
real.
day.
It is funny though, because that's the one day that the studio decided to visit the set.
Of course.
And you know, we were with Searchlight, who was an award-winning, very high-end studio, and the presidents of the studio showed up on the set for the scrotum scene, and I looked over, and they're posing for pictures with the scrotum. So I thought that was a good impression we made on the good people at Searchlight Pictures.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact, they called it their missile scro. They were holding it above people's heads and handing out kisses. It's funny because the other period piece of theirs that's coming out right now is
Chevalier.
Chevalier.
Yeah.
Also about the same time period. So I imagine they were filming that at the same time.
That was historically accurate what we did in there.
Yeah, but probably no scrotum scene. So
No, I'm sure there's not.
what should the people see?
Yeah.
Pretty easy call. Where did this wild ass idea to do a Broken Lizard version of Quasimodo come from in the first place?
Well, we wrote this thing about 20 years ago when we wrote Super Troopers.
Oh, wow.
We wrote it at the same time. And it was based on this character. Lemme worked at this record store in New York City, and there was a guy who worked there who was this kind of like lonely guy who like worked in the blues department, talked out the side of his mouth. And it was this character Lemme always did. We thought it was hysterical, and we riff on it, and we started building this movie out of it. And like, how can we make this guy the lowest character? And, we made him, this hunchback and this conflict with the Pope and the King, and he's a virgin, he's never been loved, and that kind of stuff. So we kind of built it from there. And then no one would ever let us make it because, we didn't have enough juice, or it was a period piece, it was too expensive. And then after Super Troopers 2, we got a little window where, we got some momentum, and we said, this is what we want to make. And they were into it, so.
I've heard early comparisons to Monty Python. Is this Broken Lizard also giving nod to Monty Python?
Well, we wouldn't exist without Python. I mean, we're modeled after Python. The group is named Broken Lizard because of Monty Python.
Mhm.
But obviously they're sort of up in the heavens, We made a movie that we knew that we'd be compared to them, probably not positively, but so what? This is our 8th movie, and we're like, well, we're gonna make a period piece. That's the way it goes.
But it's cool though, because Kevin's saying it's like we wrote it back when we were writing Super Troopers. So this is really like it's a time capsule to that period of time in our lives. And we were still like, we hadn't made Super Troopers yet. We were a sketch comedy group. And it was like, this actually was the kind of movie we wanted to make. And this was kind of where we came from. We were sketch comedians, and we played multiple roles on stage and donned these costumes. So it's cool to finally get to do that.
And I'm remembering now, like, how much we watched Braveheart at that time. I think that's probably was a big deal too.
A lot of Braveheart.
Like, was that like the Laserdisc years?
Yeah.
And I think it was, once we had this character, it was like, okay, well then we've got to put him obviously in a Braveheart-like world. And we wanted to do that kind of acting because we just got such a kick out of it.
Yeah, because like, and like, leave us.
Leave us.
Was something that was so prevalent in Braveheart. The king was always saying, "Leave us." And that's how we started to write the king character. He was a guy who said, "Leave us." And, every now and then Jay would hit that British accent and give us a good "leave us."
That's the take we used.
Yeah. But listen, that's filmmaking. You just need to get one good take.
I'm the best British accent in this group.
Well, it depends on what scene you're talking about. 'Cause,
Oh,
what we
boy.
joked about is Chandrasekhar's British accent changed from scene to scene, where he was, Senator Palpatine in one thing, and then he was some other British. He's Hugh Grant in another thing. Every time he had a different accent.
Adrianne, her British accent's pretty great.
She's good.
Excellent.
That's why,
You like
She's
step
an
right out.
actor.
Real
Yeah,
actor,
I mean, we're just goofballs.
Mean-
You always have to have one actor in it,
Yeah,
just so that we can be like, oh, that's how it's supposed to work.
You'll notice every Broken Lizard movie has one real actor in it.
Yeah.
That's
How
to
did
give
she
it
come
some
into the
weight.
fold? Was this like
we
male fantasy?
we made an offer to her. I mean, between Friday Night Lights and John Wick and Orville was another thing where she's that she can do comedy from the Orville, and she's just so statuesque and gorgeous, and she looks like a queen, So it was kind of like we made an offer to her. We said, "Hey, will you come do it?" And it turned out she's a fan of our movies, and she loves doing comedy and being silly, and she could do the accent, and so she kind of signed on immediately, and then we were set because we play all the other roles. We didn't need anybody else.
By the way, Kevin Heffernan, you are statuesque and gorgeous.
Thank you.
That is
man.
true.
Thank
That's why you got
Sure.
cast.
Thank you.
Like you mentioned, Jake, you bring in one real actor per
Yeah.
movie. Do you guys like when you bring in that other person? Do you have to do anything like? Do you do anything like a low key sort of vibe check to make sure they are going to be sort of compatible with you guys and your style of comedy? No, not at all, Jay.
Well, no, we did for this because we did a Zoom. Well, I think we were all remote at the time, right? So we did a Zoom with me and Lemme and Adrianne, and
But after she was hired.
yes, after she was hired.
Yeah.
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 And well, because we don't have enough power to do it the other way around. We don't have enough power to do that. But just to see, because that's another thing we didn't know she could do the accent. So what you have to do is hire these people before you know if they can do the job, but based on their their resume. And so we did this Zoom for the first time, and she was fantastic. And she just laid the accent on us in that Zoom, and she was great.
Well, also, like the first thing we did in that Zoom is I insulted her. I said, I really admire your courage. You came to Hollywood and you stuck with that name, Palicki, and good for you. And she laughed at that. And so, that was the vibe check.
That's
I
the
love
low-key
it.
vibe check right
That
there.
was it.
Right.
Yeah.
Insult somebody.
Yeah, just insult them, see how they take it.
I was going to ask you guys if there was ever any conversation over who would play the Hunchback, but it sounded like this was always based on the guy in the record store, always a Lemmy.
Yeah, it was Lemmy was always that guy, but all the other parts were up for grabs. And so
Yes.
we did what we usually do, where we'll write multiple drafts, not knowing who's going to play what, so that everyone writes for all the characters.
Mhm.
And then as time went on, we ended up kind of casting those other parts.
Mhm. Lemmy, are you?
I had my eye on that Pope from early on.
That's
I
true.
wanted that role.
Sure.
Normally, I don't even think about it too much. Oh, yeah, they're all good roles. They're all good roles. But
Yeah.
I was like,
You want that?
no, I want that Pope. That guy's
Sure.
mine. That's mine.
You're shooting for that Oscar with that Pope.
Exactly, or at least a Golden Globe. For
Did a
God's
great
sake.
job.
Best supporting
Great job.
actor?
Yeah,
Sure.
Listen,
Great
Soter,
job with that.
I also don't want to, leave out your other character, Lucienne,
Oh.
who I thought, you could describe Pope's portrayal or Paul's portrayal as a Pope as delicious, but you
Mhm.
could also describe his portrayal of Lucienne as delicious.
Mhm.
He gives a very delicious dual performance in this movie.
Well,
Both are
I never
equally
played a
delicious.
bad guy, and I got to play basically two bad guys, and like that's the dream come true.
Yeah.
Two bad guys in one movie.
Very different characters. Did a great job.
Lemmy, are you going to track this guy down from that? You said he was originally inspired by this guy in a record
Track you
store.
down.
Are you
I'll tell you.
gonna tell him that he inspired a movie?
So his name is Chip Stern, and you can see him in a documentary
Here we go.
about.
The lawsuit.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Well, the
It's a
character,
great story. It's a
the
great story.
character's name is not Chip Stern, so we're okay. But Chip Stern there's a documentary about Ginger Baker called Beware of Mr. Baker.
Okay.
And there's all these talking heads in there, like Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck and Keith Richards and Jack Bruce, all the guys from Cream and everything. And the one guy who's not a rock star is this guy, Chip Stern, who I worked with at HMV. So you can actually see who this guy is. But he spoke out of the corner of his mouth, and he would talk about, he was the head of the blues department. He would talk about how the saxophone was the loneliest instrument on earth, and you could just sit in the windowsill and play it on a hot, sweaty summer night and just play the blues.
Yeah.
And I would just come home to these guys because we all lived in a
loved
shoe
that.
together, and
we did.
and we would riff on this character. And anyway,
Are you guys ever surprised that Brian Cox just keeps saying yes to you?
I totally am. Because we're talking about it, you know, he's so hot right now. He's so popular, and
Rockstar.
you know, not just for Succession, but like McDonald's and all the stuff he does. And so, I actually, Jay gave me his email. I emailed him, and he never responded. I said, "Hey, man, we got this thing. We'd love for you to do the narrator." Never responded. And then we get a call from his agent. He said, "I talked to Brian. He talked to me. He said he will do anything you want. Whatever you want him to do, he will do it." And I was like, "Well, how about just responding to my email? That would be kind of a nice. That would be a good thing for him to do." But no, it was so great because then we got on with him for the recording, and he's so gracious, and you know, he has a warm feeling for us. You know, he loves working with us, and he was like, "Anything you want ever, I will do it forever." And so it was great. So he does our narrator voice in this movie, and it adds an incredible amount of gravitas, I feel like, because it used to be my voice, and it's like, you know, that's not nearly as
You
good.
know Brian.
I'm no Brian Cox, sir.
trust me.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I think we're his metaphorical hunchback. Like if he's the king, Broken Lizard is his hunchback. And he likes to keep us nearby and pat our little heads, and you know.
Adorable mutts that, like, when he feels like slumming, that's who he calls. Yeah.
Which is when we made Super Troopers, there's a scene in the movie when we're doing our death ride. We're driving around at the end of the movie, and he's trashing the yard of the local police captain, and we were shooting that at like 3 or 4 in the morning. And we were in the police car just grab-assing and being obnoxious and telling our stupid mom jokes. And Brian Cox was just looking out the window, and he said to himself, he said, "Whatever happened to Kraft?" And made us all feel terrible. But that was the beginning of our relationship. He's the weight, and we are his little dirty hunchback.
I was going to say he's going back to his roots because I feel like you guys made his career with Super Troopers.
Well, we gave him a chance to do comedy, which he never got offered. You know, he's always doing heavy dramatic roles, and he loves comedy. He mentioned that in Fallon the other night. He wants to do some more comedy, so we gave him that opportunity.
True.
He's great at comedy. He should do a lot more.
Let's get some updates on some lingering projects of yours. Where are you guys on Super Troopers 3? That has to be a trilogy, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We've written 10 drafts of it. And we're going to have a meeting on it at the end of this press tour.
Yeah. That's next.
That's next.
Yeah.
It's in good shape. Yeah.
Love it. What did it mean to you guys to hear that Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, easily the most likable, just an amazing person and quarterback, just a beautiful specimen? What did that mean to you guys to hear he's a huge Super Trooper?
Let me just put that into context here. So Kev is a member of the Bills Mafia.
Okay.
He's a Buffalo guy and a giant Bills fan. And he was the one who actually sent that link to me where Josh Allen said great things about Super Troopers. And so yeah, it is very nice. Have you followed up with him on it or no? I mean,
no, I think shout out to Kyle Brandt, who also does this. He does the Josh Allen Film Festival with him. He said, I think he said he wanted to like get you guys on there for like a podcast with Josh or do something.
Absolutely.
Sure. I thought you were bringing him as your date to the premiere. Is that not happening?
I would love that. Can you make that? He's a fan of Kevin Heffernan, not Kevin Polowy. So, if you want to make that happen, go for it.
Well, listen, Josh Allen
what's that cat doing behind you right now?
Oh, he's licking his ass.
Balls?
Josh Allen is my fantasy football quarterback this season, and I am the back-to-back Broken Lizard Fantasy Football League champion.
You just had to get that in there. You just had to find a way to stick it in there.
So
there you go.
But yeah.
So in summary, one of the pinnacles of your careers.
It's no question about it. Would love to meet him. And
Super Troopers 3, Josh Allen.
I think you should invite him as your date and give him a corsage.
I will absolutely do that. Where's Potfest? Is that ever going to happen?
We're discussing it with the new heads of Warner Brothers. So the hope is that they'll make it or let us make it, but we're hoping to make it.
that would have to be a trilogy too, right? Like, if you what was the Coke
Yeah,
Fest?
yeah,
Molly Fest?
Beer Fest, Pot Fest, Coke Fest. Yeah, definitely a trilogy.
And then Fuck Fest. It's a ology.
Four
Quadrology.
Yeah.
Quadrology.
Love it. Acid Fest, Meth Fest that would probably be a little depressing.
Yeah.
Bath Salts
Don't
Fest.
get Method Man and
That would be a good one.
Right.
Yeah, awesome, cool, great to talk to you guys. I'll see you. I'll see you next week at the premiere with my date,
Okay.
Josh Allen.
Good. All right,
Yes.
Bring
good.
your cat.
I like that.
I'll bring
Bring
I'll bring Snowflake and Fluffernutter. I'll bring them both.
Okay.
See you,
Good
Kevin.
to see you
Thanks,
guys.
Kev.
Thanks,
you.
Kev.
See you.
Later.